You want to know how to get motivated to write a book even when you don't feel like it? Well, you're going to want to make sure you stay tuned to today's video. This is Self-Publishing with Dale, where you learn to publish books that sell, build an unstoppable author brand, and if you'd like to learn more about writing, publishing, and building an author brand, then you should probably hit that subscribe button and tickle that little bell icon so you don't miss a single video here on this channel. So we're just going to jump right into things. The big issue is motivation. Sometimes it's just hard enough for us to find our muse as authors, whether we're nonfiction or fiction, or anything in between there. It can be tough. And some of us are just built to we've got that creativity just pouring out of us, and we're able to just keep pumping out line after line, word after word, page after page, book after book. But every now and then the well's gonna run dry. And what exactly do you do? Well, I've got 5 ways to get motivated to write a book when you don't feel like it. So let's just jump right into things with tip number 1. This one's one of my favorite ones, and one thing I suggest to everybody. If you're a writer, you should be writing on a daily basis. Daily writing rituals, something that should be embedded into your DNA. If you're an author, if you're a writer, and you find yourself not getting motivated, then chances are very likely you're probably not staying with it on a ritual basis. I want you to kind of think about this when it comes to athletes. Do you think that professional athletes ever go, you know what, I'm going to take a year off from playing basketball and then I'll come back to it? Chances are likely no, they don't just skip that at all. So I'd recommend to you, even if your daily writing ritual is just something as simple as writing an email to yourself, journaling, putting up a blog post, even if it's writing, say, 1 paragraph a day, getting that daily writing ritual, get it set to where when you finally sit down to write a book, it's going to be much easier for you. You're going to be able to say, okay, it's time to go ahead and crank this out. Tip number 2, weird writing prompts. I know this is kind of crazy. You won't hear too many people saying this. They say typically, writing prompts, but I say weird writing prompts. Every now and then, when I find my motivation's down, it's typically because my creativity muscle hasn't been exercised lately. So what you'll want to do is just get a weird writing prompt. It doesn't have to do anything with the book that you're going to write. It's just going to get it to where it just greases your creative wheels and gets you going. So it could be something as simple in fiction that you just put just the weirdest scenario. An orange and an apple went into a marathon race. What happened next? Have fun with it. It's a weird writing prompt. By the way, I just came up with that on the spot. That's probably not the weirdest thing in the world, but you can kind of get the idea. Weird writing prompts could be something as simple as just being goofy with something, For instance, you can always get an acronym and spell out the acronym with some weird words in it and then write a story around it, or a fake nonfiction type thing. You don't need to release any of this stuff. The weird writing prompts is just to kind of get the creative juices going and gets you to where you're smiling and you get into that flow of things and you feel a bit more motivated to jump into that book. Tip number 3, ambient sounds. This is pretty interesting. It's so funny. I was just listening to the Sell More Books podcast over on iTunes. This is actually hosted by Jim Kukral and Brian Cohen. Brian wasn't on this particular podcast, but it was episode 293. You can actually look this one up. Jim actually had Jay Thorne on as a special guest host, and the two of them were kind of going through the news, and one of the things they were talking about is ambient sounds. They typically say white noise will help out, and even say, for instance, like music. Find something that is going to get it to where it just gets you into a state of flow, to where you can kind of sit down and you start to churn things out. One of my favorite ambient sounds is I listen to Brain.fm. By the way, not sponsored. I have no affiliate links to this. I just like Brain.fm. It's actually an app I picked up a long time ago through an AppSumo deal. And I just turn that on, and it really helps out and keeps me focused. And you can actually do it in half-hour, 2-hour segments, or even infinite, and it'll play some of these tracks and it'll keep you focused and on track. It was so funny. I had heard between the two between the two hosts on the Soundboard Book Show, I think Jim had said he likes to go into coffee shops and just the ambient noise, conversations around them, pretty much just everything that happens in a coffee shop kind of helps him out creatively. And I think it might have been Jay that said no, he kind of needed to have some type of just light music playing, because then it kind of pushes out all that excess and extra sounds and conversations that would normally distract him. Now, I could have gotten those two mixed up. You have to go watch episode 293. I don't have a link to that, by the way. You're just going to have to look it up on iTunes. All right, tip number 4. This one's a fun one here. Do something creative beyond writing. Every now and then when I find that I'm not motivated on something in particular, it's probably because I, for some reason, am not feeling it. Maybe I woke up on the wrong side of bed. Maybe I just, I had a bad review, which, by the way, how many of you out there have had that, where you lose your motivation because you got a bad review? It stinks. You can have like 20 good reviews and then get that one that just slams you with a 1 star, and you're kind of going, oh man. Well, that means that you need to, first of all, take a step back. You shouldn't take it so hard. The next thing is do something beyond writing, something that's going to give you a little bit of happiness. So one of the things that I like to do is I'll pull out my guitar and I'll sit down and I'll play for a half hour. After I'm done, I feel a little bit more loose and light, and I'm like, almost like, you know what? I can do this. Another thing I like to do is sitting down and meditating. Meditation's not anything that's required creatively speaking, but it will also help and increase theta brain waves, which oddly enough, the same thing that you produce when you're sitting down and playing music. Figure out something. It could be something as simple as if you've got a song, like a preferred song of yours that you just get pumped up every single time you hear that song, then chances are likely you're going to probably, love to actually get this going. So let's say it's Eye of the Tiger. You play Eye of the Tiger, you get goosebumps, and you're like, yeah, there we go. That's it. That could be your creativity that comes in here. And then it could be something as simple as just getting some Play-Doh out and making your own little Play-Doh universe. Just figure out something that can really exercise that creative muscle, because sometimes when you're not motivated, it could be that your creativity muscle is going, I haven't worked in a while. You might want to kind of get things going. So grease the wheels that way. I've got an additional tip, and before I jump into that, I just want to do a really quick plug in that, hey, you can actually join me every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on YouTube at dalelanks.com/live. We actually have a live broadcast every Wednesday and Saturday, and of course every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/self-publish. You want to make sure that you subscribe for free over there with the Amazon Prime membership. You can do that by visiting the video at dalelanks.com/twitchprime. All right, boy, we've been blazing right through each one of these points, and there's a good reason, because you should be writing and not watching a whole long video. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get tip number 5. You got to define your purpose. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more in depth, and there's a good reason why I saved it for last. If you find that you're not motivated to do something, then you don't know why you're doing it. And if you say to me, I know why I'm doing it, no, you don't. Because if you were motivated, you were truly inspired to get up out of bed every morning to go and just pump out that book, to write that manuscript, to get it done. And if you find that you're lacking motivation, that you haven't really fully embraced the direction you're going in. You don't have a good vision of where you're going. Your purpose needs to be your why. Why are you doing it? What is the ultimate outcome that you're doing in writing in the first place? If it's something as simple as, you're doing books, you're writing books because you want to go on a hot air balloon ride around the world, or you want to donate $100,000 towards your favorite charity from your earnings, think about your purpose. For me, whenever I'm writing, my biggest purpose is to allow myself the freedom to pretty much cover all of my bills, have my extra money left over that my wife and I can live life on our own terms. And that's simple. That's really basic, but you know what? That's my purpose. And as long as I can continue to push forward towards my purpose, I'll tell you this, that when you put a keyboard in front of me, I know my purpose. And as long as I know what I'm shooting for and what I'm writing, then I've got all the motivation I need to in the world. And I hope that you do too. It was not too long ago, actually, that I did this video where I talked about how to tell a story well and why you suck at it right now. I know that's kind of harsh, right? Maybe you don't quite suck at it. Actually, there's a little bit more context when you actually watch the video. You're going to want to make sure that you join me on over there. I do appreciate it as always. I'll see you there.